Mark in the count. The swing arm now coming back as our countdown continues.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone's doing great on this Sunday. What are we in January? We're still in January. I think I've done like 3 shows now in 2024. Yeah, so I can't say happy new whatever. I can say hope everything's good for you and yours in 2024.
Yes. You can still say it if you want. I mean, you know.
I'm happy to be here today with Yoko from Livin, Vida, Yoko, as it says right over there. How are you, Yoko?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Sundays are always this mix of like, yay, fun. Let's talk about nerdy toys. And then I got to work tomorrow. So,
yeah. The Sunday scaries.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you do regular Monday, Friday kind of work schedule too?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're in the same boat.
Yeah. I don't have to go anywhere, right? Like I just roll out of bed, so it's a little bit different.
Okay, I'm a little bit jealous.
Yeah.
I teach, so I do go to a place.
Yeah.
However, I do remember what it was like to roll out of bed and teach online, and I don't miss it. So, okay. Thank you for joining today. Actually, before we get started with you and I, let's go ahead and say hello to the folks who are in the chat. Thank you to everyone who's here today and to anyone who might be watching this later. First and foremost, number 1, we've got Wing or Lose. What's going on? Saying hello. Collecting Brothers. All right. Good to see you. That was the best I could do, Collecting Brothers. Thank you. Quip, good to see you. Thanos Copter here, and thank you again in advance, Thanos, for helping with the links. And yep, glad you saw my note. I'm semi-prepared. Star, good to see you. Thanks for hanging out earlier on Highly Articulated, talking some monkey business, AWOC talk. If you missed that, go check that out over on Adam Highly Articulated. We do that thing, talk about Animal Warriors of the Kingdom pretty regularly. It was fun. Let's see. We've got Nolan, because of course we've got Nolan. You've got a cheerleader here going. She's got a special cheer just for you. Silver K, go Yoko, go! And then she's doing this. Is it not working? Now it's not working. See? Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it goes. Yeah.
This is like I keep saying, like, I want to do the Michael Jackson Rock With You with that. I don't know if you remember that old music video.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm old. And Silver K would like to remind you to engage in violence on the like button, please. Let's see. Hyperdelic, good to see you. Thank you for joining us today. Ray Paz is here. Hello, Brick and Yoko. Don't. Why? Anyways, yeah, I live in the Bay Area in San Francisco. So does Kayla. And apparently there's like something going on in San Francisco in sports. Supposedly.
Yeah. Something sporty.
Yeah. Joe, thanks for joining us today. Joe, great to see you. Ray, Black is here. Wing or Lose is here again. I'll say hello again. Obi Juan Chingones, ¿qué pasó, carnal? Good to see you. We got Kenzo's Creations. Hello. James Serapio, ¿cómo está? How's it going? Hello, Brick Something and Yoko. This person's saying hello to everyone and including you. So say hello. John, good to see you. Kenzo, did I see? Hello again. See, I watch you. We got the Vactorverse. What's going on, Vactor? And NYC Figure Fanatic, what's up, everyone? And of course, it keeps going. Geek the F out, which is a great thing. Thank you all so much for coming through. Lucha Johnny is here. All right, that whole thing. You co-host the Fallen Fett Chronicles, and I have to say, I watch the way that guy handles this, and you also co-host the Boba. You're part of the Boba Squadron with Paul, and I watched him do that whole rundown, and Kevin too. And I'm just like, I don't know how folks do it. Energy, Ernie's got his own unique energy that's just like, whoa.
Yeah, he does.
Paul is like, is Paul going right now? Like, I don't know. It's Sunday.
Oh yeah, he might be here soon. Yeah.
Yeah, so he'll go on for like a couple hours of just calling the names and then starting a show.
Yeah.
So
and then maybe unboxing something.
Yeah. It's not my thing. And I saw you do it a couple weeks ago on Fallen Fett Chronicles.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing that we do.
It's a sign of a good chat, though. Like you want like people are interacting, and it reminds you of things or stories or callbacks. So.
Wait, I'm so curious about this. What do you know about the K-pop heat emote?
No.
Oh man, I'm so bummed that my PC does not show your K-pop heat emote, because now I'm really curious. Okay. Before we get into that, we've said hello to the chat. Let's say a proper introduction for those who may or may not be familiar with you and the many things that you do. And then if you're not familiar with the whole Brick Something news, we'll talk about nerdy things that we saw this week or recently, and then spend a little time talking about the coast. But just as a general introduction, let's talk Yoko McCann.
Yes. I've got my co-host Larry here with me.
Hey, Larry. Does Larry have tentacles that shoot out of Larry's mouth or no?
No, sometimes. Actually, no. Larry, I'm pretty sure is 100% cat. Lucy's the one that I suspect might be part Flurkin or Stitch. She reminds me a lot of Stitch, actually.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
That's awesome. So you're everywhere. You're in many places. And you have and Wingerloos wants to remind you that you've got your own crew too.
That's all Ernie's thing. I will not own that.
And the McCannics. So could you give us a little bit of background of your nerddom, I guess? Like what kinds of things are you into, and how did you get to the different YouTube stuff and Instagram stuff that you've been doing?
Sure. So I've been in the toy collectibles industry for a while now. And when I was with Funko, really, I started with Funko. I was a Funko collector and fan first, and I had I had a normal marketing job that was not that exciting at the time, but then I was able to get hired on at Funko, and that kind of really kickstarted everything else for me. And when I started with them, it was before they had a YouTube channel or much social marketing at all. And we kind of our team started that after I got there, and I never had any interest in being on camera or doing anything, and I hated doing it. And it was my boss that was like, no, you guys are going to do this Periscope, right? These live shows and everything. And I would get so nervous every single time. I'm like, I hate this. I don't, I'm not I don't have the speaking skills. I'm not used to doing this. I'm not comfortable. But they kept making me do it. Not making me do it, but it was
part of the job.
Part of the job. So I finally started to get used to doing it. I don't know that it's natural yet, but I think
it seems it.
I think it not being natural is part of the authenticity, though. Yep. What you see is what you get, people. But yeah, so that's kind of where it all started. Then when after I left Funko, I wanted to keep those skills going, though, so that's when I opened up my own YouTube and Twitch. I actually just got maybe I did YouTube first. I can't. The timeline doesn't make sense anymore. But
was that Livin, Vida, Yoko?
Right. Yeah, and I was actually doing. That was when I was going to the parks a little bit more often too. Especially then when I worked at Pigpen after Funko, and I was going on a lot more business trips. So I even had an annual pass there for a year or two because I was going down to California so often for meetings.
Sorry, if you're not of that nerdy variety, the parks is short for capital D Disney parks. Yeah.
And so I actually started my first blog was Yoko Eats Disney Treats, and I was doing that first, doing more Disney content, and then it kind of evolved into Livin, La Vida, Yoko, so that it could be everything, not just Disney.
Sure.
especially after I stopped traveling. With COVID and everything. I think COVID was actually when I rebranded from Yoko Eats Disney Treats to Live Vida Yoko, so that it could encompass more things, especially while stuck at home.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's when I started doing unboxing videos, and just to keep the skills up. And then Twitch started when, again, stuck at home, wanting that interaction with people. And that's when I started doing the live streaming that.
So many like crazy channels and like things happen because of that. That's cool.
Yeah.
And Twitch grew pretty big. Yeah. And what kinds of things were you doing over there on the Twitch?
I was doing, I would sometimes do a little bit of, Lego building and unboxings too, but I was also doing a lot of blinging. I'm like looking around because I'm trying to find an example that I don't have handy, but I would bedazzle toys essentially. So we just sit there, blinging toys, talking to people, just keeping each other company.
I love that.
Was
that like a big thing, by the way?
Hmm?
Was that a thing other people did? Because when you said blinging, I was like, I'm not sure what that is.
Like it was something I started doing back in my Funko days, and I was blinging pops out a lot. I knew a couple other people did it too, and that like I started doing it because I saw someone else doing it, and I was like, oh, that looks fun, I want to try.
That's
so
awesome.
So now I bling other types of toys and stuff now too, figures. I wish I should have one somewhere. I have that big orange bird that I was working on for a while, but so it's just something to like. I was doing it while I was watching TV and stuff, especially. So again, I've been blinging for a long time now, like over 10 years probably when I first started doing it. So it was something to keep my hands busy while I watched TV. I think a lot of us probably have that, where like we need to be overstimulated at all times.
Yep.
So that's kind of where that started for me. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's cool that you kind of got this crafty thing. A lot of what we end up covering in the quote unquote news is like people customizing toys and beyond. Like people have done cosplay stuff. And I'm just really fascinated by like how nerd culture has kind of interfaced with maker culture and crafting culture. Yeah. So that's rad. Yeah. And then how do you get to co-hosting some of these other shows?
So then I ended up over at Super 7. And that was also, so I lost my job with Figpin during COVID when they laid off a bunch of staff, like a lot of companies did. But I was lucky that Super 7 picked me up pretty quickly after that.
That's awesome.
And
did you know them? Is that how that?
I had a friend that worked there, and he was like, "Oh, we're looking," and they didn't have an in-house marketing team; it was all outsourced at the time. And so my friend reached out to me and said, "Hey, they're looking to hire their first, full-time marketing person. Are you interested?" And I was like, "Yes, very much so." And it was like probably one of the easiest, quickest hiring or interview processes I've been through, which was great, especially during that stressful time of COVID and not having a job and everything. So I'm really grateful to Super 7 for that, because then like all these people that I spend most of my time with now, like these online communities, I wouldn't know them if I had never gone to Super 7.
That's where a lot of the connections were made. Okay.
So then another coworker introduced me to Kev, to Toying Around, and to Toy Migos as well. And so they both had me on as a guest shortly after I started working at Super 7, and the friendships grew from there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And here we are. Yeah.
And that's awesome. So we'll talk more about the specific kind of things you got and kind of where folks can find you, what you got coming up towards the end. That's awesome. And did you by any chance ever live here, or you've always lived?
I didn't know. I've always lived here. Yeah.
Just because like Super 7 is a thing.
Yeah, that's one of the bummers. I've never been able to. I never visited Super 7 while I was working. So while I was working for them, so I haven't seen HQ. I haven't been to I've been to the San Diego store, but not the San Francisco one.
Oh, that's a trip. Yeah. So it was all virtual.
Yeah,
because I moved here to the Bay Area in '98, and the shop opened up just a couple years later in Japantown, the first one. And I was like doing graphic design stuff and was just trying to find contract work, and was always like talking to people. And that's where like I talked to Super 7 when there was like, it was a magazine mainly in a shop. This was like a long time ago. And if anything, it was like Sofubi coverage. And it's just been really cool to kind of see them grow during like just helping the art scene here. And anyway, and so it's a kind of a big deal over here. And that's a trip that you've never actually been to the Bay Area,
right?
For that stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, then let's go ahead and look at some, again, for the folks watching maybe for the first time. I know it says news, but as you'll see, like up there, it's an acronym for Needless Ephemeral We Saw. If you know anything about my background, I'm Filipino. I don't know what it is, but there's something that we do. Everything becomes an acronym, and they're often really long and weird. So perfect. That's the news. And that's actually my kind of fancy way of saying, please don't hold me to actually needing to cover everything, because I won't and I can't. But instead, I'm a selfish bastard and just want to talk about the things that I want to talk about, or I think are interesting, or friends. So on that note, let's go ahead and start off. Oh, actually, some logistics. Here we go. See, I told you in the beginning, I do this every week. And I forget how to do it. I know you like, this one's not on a spreadsheet though. Okay. So we start off with the quote unquote news. Let's see. Am I even doing this right? I thought I was doing this right. Oh, so at the QR code way down there, folks, if you want to follow along after the show, shortly after, I'll put up the links to everything. During the live, I've got Thanos Copter, who is helping with moderating and is going to be throwing in some of the links, at least the ones I've prepared in time. And so check that out. And the URL is also at the bottom, bit.ly/Brick Something News, capital B, capital S, capital News, because ultimately this is all BS news. So let's start with the stuff we saw, aka the scene. And that would start with, I believe, this window. There you go. I did it. Okay. So the first thing is an article that reminded me how truly old I am. So, gosh, look at all these fun ads. Aren't those great? Okay. So
sponsored. Yeah.
Celebrating the toys, cartoons, and comics of 1984. I don't hide it. Oops, I was born in 1976. So I was like a functional child at 1984 who was ripe for all of the things that were shoved into my eyeballs. And so I just saw this article this week, and it just reminded me of like how amazing that year was for my childhood. Because like some of the biggest moments in the pop culture that kind of becomes the foundation of who I am now happened. They here, just looking at their main image on the left, this is the 40th anniversary of the Secret Wars crossover, which was like this major event as a comic book collecting kid. I'm big into Marvel, and all of a sudden there was this special event where seemingly every single character that mattered in the Marvel universe, heroes and villains, were going to be torn into this world and essentially fight, stabby, stab, and do their thing. And that was huge. That gave us the black Spider-Man suit that eventually became Venom, as well as some really cool things. And it's just neat to see this picture because like so much of our pop culture right now is Marvel. Yeah. And it's just like, I look at this picture and it's like, yeah, there's Cap, right? There's, believe it or not, that's Jeremy Renner, for those of you who only are used to a particular look of these characters. There's a Wolverine down here, and Rogue, who I know people are familiar with from like the movies, and probably going to become really big and matter again in the MCU soon. This is I believe she was called Captain Marvel, or maybe Ms. Marvel at that time, but essentially Spectrum from the Marvels. That is technically her mom in the character that she plays. I'm totally blanking on her name. Do you remember her name from the Marvels? The Rambeau.
Yeah.
Monica's
mom.
Yes. Rambeau. So like all of these things are there. Like this is the one time Halle Berry, but probably not Halle Berry. Storm, you got Spider-Man, Peter Parker, you got the Hulk. So like all of this, it just trips me out to think like as a kid, I'm reading this and didn't realize like pretty much the movies, and I guess I couldn't imagine streaming. Like so much is about these characters now. And so anyway, I think that's wild. And then you've got Robots in Disguise in the middle, right? Also like are now big movies and still cartoons and toys. And of course, probably the one that's like just never went away is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Started in '84, and there's other things that it names, but I suspect that you weren't a fully functional child in 1984. You don't have to give me
No,
specific.
but no, significantly, you know what else is celebrating 40 years though is both My Little Pony and Care Bears,
Yep,
which were
yep.
very important to me. Maybe Rainbow Bright too. All of which are very important to me growing up. So
It was a wild year for
yeah,
pop culture. And
yeah,
so here we are some 40 years later, and all of this stuff is still like dominating pop culture in many ways, and more so than they did back then,
yeah.
I would argue, because like there's like functional adults and kids who are totally like into this stuff. Back then it was just like this thing that kids were into. I don't know. It's just a trip to think about like that particular year being a big deal. Were any of these, so you mentioned Rainbow Bright,
Ponies and Care Bears, but actually, I always turtles. Turtles were actually a big part of my childhood too, because shout out to Mary Felix, who I haven't talked to in decades, but she was my childhood best friend in the late '80s, and she was a big turtle collector. And I can still visualize her room, with all her turtles. She had a loft. She had a loft bed, and underneath space was like her turtle lair, essentially, with like all her toys and stuff. So I remember going over there and playing turtles with her, and then we'd come back to my place, and in my room we'd play ponies, and then in her room we'd play turtles. So
yep.
it was well rounded.
And so you and I are both kind of in these like toy YouTube spaces that are still talking about these things. And I don't know, it's just, if I try to be as sort of like celebratory about these things, man, look at that cover art. Versus the like, oh, they're not getting it right, or that's not how like the Transformers should be on screen, or whatever it is, right? I'm just more like, I'm happy that one, people care.
Yeah.
Two, now that I'm in a position to maybe buy some things, I can actually enjoy some of these things again. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but it is. It's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I'm just happy, and I think this is a really great article to kind of like take you back if that's not something you're super familiar with. Like, look at this. Like, just amazing how this is the modern version, and it's people are still pushing it. Voltron. Let's see. Anyway, I wanted to throw that out. Check out that article. 1984 was a big year. We've got some other folks here who are reflecting because folks are like, where is it? Folks are saying, I just saw toys, toys, toys. See, this is the other part of this whole game. We've got folks saying, oh man, still just a baby compared to me. Here you go. Flanagan saying they're 1970. Yep. So yeah, we're all, and I'm sure you all are just as amazed at me that so much of this stuff is still here, right? Crisis of Infinite Earths, same thing. That just came out as a big DC movie, animated thing, and it's like, wow, we're still doing that, and people are still excited and interested. So I'm loving it. And yeah, good to see folks. Hello, Allison. Missed you. All right. And Ed. Moving on. Let's take a look at something a little bit more current. Odious, character by Wade from Unparalleled Universe. So he has been on this quest. He's had this character that he created, like just a comic book nerd, toy nerd, who started a YouTube thing, who, like you, that really became a huge part of what he was doing during the lockdown, right? And building up the streams during that time. And now he's like making toys. Like, I love that. And he just wanted to share that, like, here's some stuff coming out of the factory. So we're getting closer and closer to having this toy in our hands. And I don't know, a lot of what we do here is talk about like this notion of like the fans who are now becoming creators themselves. And I don't know, I'm just intrigued by this. You followed this stuff?
I mean, yeah, hard not to hear about it in the enabler and Toymigo circles. But no, saw him at Decon too. So no, it's really cool to see him making his dreams come true, really,
Yep.
Like, and hopefully that inspires other people to go for their dreams too.
Yep. I love the full-on soft goods and everything. So I'm with you on that. Like he's making his dreams come true, chasing it, and hopefully like inspiring others, which is awesome. Which is awesome. All right, that's odious. Let's move on to this guy. We got Zeb.
It's Paul's drinking buddy.
That's right. So your co-host over on Boba Squadron, Paul Sun-Hyung Lee, who went to a bar in character as Carson Teva.
Yeah, Carson Teva, sorry, not Paul.
To get some intel, right? And he found old fan favorite, first time ever in live action, we got to see Zeb Aurelios. And so we never had a Zeb Aurelios in the vintage Kenner line. And so this has no talent, which obviously is not a true reflection of this person's talent. Featured them before because they keep doing these like custom bespoke 3.75 toys. They did a series of R2 units, and now these. They went up today, I believe, and then he posted a follow-up saying that like there's still at least Zeb's available. The protocol droid is out.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But just so cool. Like these are I believe done old school, not so I don't believe there's a ton of digital sculpting, but maybe not. I don't know. Actually, I'm talking on my but just the notion of like looking at those couple shots that we had of Zeb, right, in uniform, because I don't believe we saw waist down a whole lot, right? They were just sort of sitting at the bar.
I was just trying to picture that because I'm like his legs are throwing me a little bit, like
yeah.
did we see bare leg on him? I don't remember.
I don't either.
No, that's awesome. Yeah.
And it's very like the old school Kenner toys, which I collected as a kid. Like they were so far off from what the actual characters look like often. So it wouldn't be, it's totally apropos to be like, I think this is what the character looks like from the waist down. Because when they had
just been like leaning at the bar, right? I think.
Yeah. Anyway, so cool to see that. And I love it. And so if you are interested in this, if you're a big Kenner vintage style collector, you might want to pick up a cool custom toy.
That's super fun. I like that a lot. Yeah.
So that has no talent. All right. Shifting gears a little to another franchise from the 80s that for whatever reason refuses to die. He-Man, Masters of the Universe. I've been really into this property and collecting. So they released a show, like a new version of the old cartoon. No, that's not right. A new take on Masters of the Universe called Revelation. And so this came out a little bit ago, and they actually released two different things on Netflix. They did this one and a CGI show. Were you following that or hearing about that at all?
Just a little bit. I hadn't watched either of those. But
okay.
I've seen the toys, and I've seen that I've seen that it exists.
Did you? So there's a new sort of follow up. The part 2, I guess, or second season is coming out this Thursday. What's today? The 21st. Monday, Tuesday. So the 25th. And there's. So when this came out, there was a lot of controversy. I don't know. Do you remember any of that, or have you? If not, I can tell you all about it.
Tell me. Yeah.
Before the show even came out, people were already claiming that it was one destroying the franchise because.
Oh, you mean like the usual?
Well, yeah. The usual, and as I tell you, you're going to be like, "Oh yeah, no, this feels familiar," even though I don't actually know anything about Masters of the Universe. But it came up in other franchises because the idea was that He-Man, the center, big buff dude, was not going to be a part of the actual show. He's going to die, and he's going to get replaced by the women lead, and it's all going to be about her. And then there was a bunch of stuff, and there was a lot of other critique. So I don't want to oversimplify and say that was the only critique that came out of it.
Yeah.
But I share that all because one, I'm excited that we're getting a follow-up, because I never know, with this climate and people kind of doing these almost like active campaigns before the thing even comes out. Sometimes like it ruins it, right? Like, oh no, not enough eyeballs. Who cares? We're moving on. So I'm glad they're getting a second installment in Motu Revolution. Last Friday, a couple days ago, I was on Kayla and Johnny's channel, Geek DF Out. We've both been on there before, talking about this. So I just wanted to share one. I think Motu Revelation was great. I'm excited for Motu Revolution now that I have a channel or whatever, and a space to do so. I just kind of want to use it to like maybe challenge some of the narrative out there and just say there are actually a lot of us who enjoyed it. And if you want proof, go listen to myself, Kayla, Allison, Troy, and Johnny from last Friday. We did part 1 here and had a great time. We shared a bunch of like nerdy things, and I'll share with the folks here. I was really freaking out a little bit because last night I noticed I had been busy, hadn't checked Instagram, and I checked it, and producer at Netflix, Ted Biaselli, had messaged me. I guess he'd seen the stream and was like, hey, I heard what you said about this piece, and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you caught this, and you seem to and I was just like, oh my god,
that's exciting. That's cool.
Yeah, particularly around story points and sort of analysis of some of the things that happened. And so I was really excited about that. And we're going to do a part 2. They're doing that on, I was going to say on Monday, tomorrow, over on the Geek DF Out channel. And that's going to be at 7 p.m. Pacific. The link, will probably be in the chat. If it's not, it will be at that QR code and URL we were talking about. So that should be super fun. And I just want to say, like, please watch things for yourself. Don't listen, maybe get caught up in some of the narratives that folks have. Check it out, decide for yourself. And because I think there's some really great things happening with pop culture to, as we said earlier, 1984, a lot of these things started in the 80s and they're bringing it back. And I'm of the, I want to celebrate and check things out, and I'll take the best and leave the rest. Like, I don't feel the need to like tell you all not to watch something if I don't like it.
Absolutely. Like, and more people, like, everyone should talk about things that they enjoy and things that they like. Maybe hate gets views, but maybe we can, like, if we all talk more about things we enjoy, maybe we can totally turn that around. Maybe.
Yep. Absolutely. For other folks, like, I love both old and new. Sorry, that folks are still talking about the 80s stuff. Like, they really enjoyed some of that. Thank you for the assist with some of the names. Nolan wants you to know that he's right there with you with the Care Bears. Care Bears there? Actually, what would that? What was the
with the heart?
No, I'm trying to.
That.
When was Strawberry Shortcake out is the question.
Strawberry Shortcake, I feel like, was like a couple years before those. I think Strawberry Shortcake celebrated 40 a few years ago. I don't know. I was never super into Strawberry Shortcake, though. I don't know exactly.
There were folks that I missed earlier that are excited about Odious. Folks with the knives out for Wade. Lucha Johnny. Odious is essentially a Sasquatch-looking magician, sorcerer type character, which is really cool. Just wants everyone to know that Ray Paz loves Bigfoot. Let's see. Need the Hendersons to go with. Collecting Brothers, and he got Casting Cave to do those head sculpts. Amazing figure for Odious. Let's see. Conversation around other past 80s half-naked superhero characters. Let's see. Diggs Figs wants to say hello and like represent the McCannics with the wrenches out for the McCannics. I love that. See, it's becoming a thing. Let's see. Geek the F Out wants to know, we talking Motu? Yes, we are. And thank you for giving us that space to do that. The second they were like, let's talk about Revelation, I was like, dude, can I please be on that? Because actually a lot of this channel started kind of in response to some of that. The first video I did was of a character called King Grayskull that was essentially quote unquote race swap from being kind of like a He-Man looking dude to a big powerful black barbarian dude. And there was some response and reaction to that that affected how people talked about the toy. So I wanted to talk about that toy and talk about how excited I was about it to do it, as you just said, talk about the things we love. And I think this came up, and I do want to get to Tron in a little bit because yes, I'm excited about that as well. There's going to be a Tron Ares coming up, and let's see, there's a lot. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Let's go ahead and move through. Oh, and I just want to acknowledge the Ryan Dole fan club. I totally thought it was you, but apparently it's not because you can't be in both places at the same time. So that's one more off
Ryan
the
Dole
list.
wishes it was me, but it's not.
One more off the list. We have to figure it out. I'm glad, Hyperdelic. That's good. I'm glad that you're getting excited for Evolution. I just want to. If Kevin Smith breaks your heart, okay, I'll be here for you then too. But go back and watch a Filmation, and you'll be just happy again. Just go. The old stuff didn't disappear. All right. So let's go ahead and look, the Ryan Dole, so it's not you. It's not you. See, there's no way you could have typed this while we've been talking. I love that you put your passion out there about the show, everything you said. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Ray Paz echoes your sentiment. Why waste time on things you hate?
That's the thing I don't get that people do, like who has the time to do that? Like,
yeah, they say misery loves company, so I guess that's maybe the sentiment. And so yay, I'm glad like there's a space here for those of us similar minded who are excited about things, but if you have a different opinion, it's totally fine.
And I will say I grew up a big She-Ra fan. I actually have a big
Nice.
She-Ra collection too. None of it is out. I think most of my She-Ra toys are in storage, but yeah,
that's awesome.
I did collect She-Ra. So.
Were you big into the cartoon too?
Yeah, so I know I watched Princess of Power. I don't think I watched the main show as much, but I'm sure I've seen a little bit of it. But
okay,
more She-Ra. And I started the She-Ra reboot. I never finished it, so that's why I don't feel optimistic that I'll ever get around to watching Revelation. But
yeah, there's so many things to look at right now. That's the other amazing thing about the time we're living in. It's just there's so many great things.
Yeah.
Last 2 Wednesdays ago, you're on the Fallen Fett Chronicles, which is on the Fallen Fett channel, and there was a big milestone. We hit the 500. You hit the 500 subscriber count, and then there was a big party. So. And I was a part of it. You and I were a part of the, I guess, pre-party, and
the
then
Fallen Fett list celebration. Yeah,
where the person from the channel wasn't there. But there was something you said there about we were all kind of talking about Marvel and where things are at, and you were responding to something about like there was a strong perspective about like I think it might have been the Marvels, or Ms. Marvel, yeah. Do you remember saying something like maybe it wasn't for you?
I was saying with like it was us and 7 other dudes right on the stream talking about the Marvels, and I do remember saying like I think that movie with the intended audience for the Marvels was not any of us on screen. Maybe me to an extent, but I do think it was created for the younger female fan.
Absolutely. And then the notion was like folks were like saying I don't really get it or I don't like it.
Yeah, they didn't get the humor, they didn't get the interactions, I think, and I'm just I thought the Marvels was a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than a lot of other recent Marvel content, and I set out to enjoy everything. The only thing I will say I did not enjoy was Secret Invasion. Yeah. Otherwise, like I'm just looking to be entertained, right? And so
did you start posting about how horrible Secret Invasion was and how the MCU is like no, you didn't do that?
Nope.
Okay. Because again, why would we? But it's funny because a lot of the narrative right now, unfortunately, around Marvel hasn't been great.
Yeah.
And so see my comments earlier about how like I'm excited from 84 till now. This stuff is like in the zeitgeist. So I just kind of want to spend a little bit of time talking about some things that I'd seen recently. I don't know how caught up you are in maybe some of the more.
I have not watched Echo yet. I do plan to, but I have not. I just finished What If yesterday, actually. So I'm a little behind.
Oh, good. What If season 2? Okay,
Yeah,
well
yeah,
let's go ahead and start
yeah,
with that. I was going to start with
yeah.
Echo, but sure, let's go ahead.
Yeah.
What did you think of in general? What did you think of
Of What If?
What
Yeah.
If season 2?
I liked it a lot. I think season 1 overall was stronger.
Hmm.
But I like season 2 and I love Captain Carter and I love that it's clearly like about her and
Yep.
in her role
Yep.
and everything. And I like the little teaser at the end. I don't want to spoil it in case anyone else hasn't seen it yet, but that
Oh, I
little
was gonna spoil it, but
were
okay,
you
you're
you
right.
want to
You're right.
spoil
No,
it? Maybe
you're
not?
fair. No, fair enough. You're right. You're right. You're right. Well, more so because
Yeah.
if anyone wasn't going to, well, keep going. So you like that? You like the spoiler at the end or the teaser?
Yeah, and just to see how it might tie into other things
Mm-hmm.
in the future of the MCU, I think is really exciting. I think that's what I wanted. Like, because my whole thing right now is like I want to see things starting to connect, and
Uh-huh.
maybe we're getting there.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because people have been feeling that past Endgame, there's been less of that connectivity.
yeah, yeah.
I totally get that sentiment too. I've been of the, well, let's wait and see personally, because, when I was watching back in 2008, when Iron Man came out and kind of just sat with it, there's no way I'd be a liar if I was like, oh yeah, by Incredible Hulk, I totally knew they were going to lead up to the Avengers and the Infinity Stones
Right,
are going to be.
right.
So I've just been this whole
Mhm,
time partially looking for clues, but also just kind of like, well, we'll see what comes. And I have noticed some kind of threads of things.
mhm,
But again, not really time to throw out theories or anything, but I'll just say in general, I'm like, yeah, I've been having fun. I've been looking to have fun with these. And I'll say that it's actually surpassed my expectations often. So like, what if season 2, and I stopped here intentionally because what if season 2, the entire what if thing, I just thought like, is this just kind of like an extra deal or like we have some random stories that we want to tell you? Well, because that's kind of how the comic was when I was a kid. There was an actual comic called What If, and it was just like an opportunity
mhm,
to have fun with these stories,
mhm,
like talk about stories that would never happen. But then as of the first season, they actually did end up tying a little bit more into the greater MCU stuff, especially
mhm,
kind of helping support the notion of multiverses. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah.
And then in this one, the reason I said I saw even more, I got more than what I expected for, because like I was not expecting this character in particular. Two things that really took me. There was the 1602 kind of era
Mhm,
stuff that was a huge Neil Gaiman uh event, I guess, in Marvel Comics, where they actually went to a universe that was all like, wait, why is everything in this time period? And a lot of the story was very similar, but they kind of replaced it with like MCU equivalents of characters. So one, I was excited about that, and then two, Kohori, I don't know, they pronounce it different
yeah.
ways. A Mohawk character that like didn't exist in Marvel Comics. So it was like a
Mhm,
completely original, brand new concept and character. And I was like, okay, this is intriguing. I'm always up for like new characters, and I'm always up for like the idea of bringing in like new stories about different people. As you said, like maybe it wasn't for you, and I'm excited as a person who's still kind of waiting for maybe like a Filipino Marvel character thing.
mhm,
Um, like, oh, cool, we're gonna do some cool stuff with American Indians, right? Particularly in this case, the Mohawks, and like, okay, that's interesting. I'm not going to spoil anything, but if for the hardcore comic book nerds who have read 1602, um, that is a thing that happens in that comic. So I was excited to see this,
mhm,
and I was just intrigued by the way they wrote her story. I won't say much more, but I'll just say
mhm.
that I really appreciated the new storytelling that happened with this episode and the way they approached it. But anyway, I'll just throw it out there. If it matters to anybody here, there are some people who really enjoyed this, even though I am hearing some people not so much. And it's not so much that I haven't heard a lot of haters, just kind of like, it's boring. Who cares? Don't watch What If season 2. And I'll just throw out there that I think it's worth watching. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm just curious, what did you think of her story and role in this
I
season?
enjoyed
Did
the
you?
story.
Mhm,
Her power confuses me a little bit,
mhm.
um, because I feel like I don't really understand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I don't want to say too much
No,
more about it, I guess. But
I
like,
hear you.
and I think I can see that leading to a lot of needless hate from certain types of fans too.
Sure.
The same kind of hate that Captain Marvel, I think, was getting or is getting still. But so
I'll
I
give
can see that.
you.
Yeah.
I want to offer in a very circular way. Sorry if this is overly cryptic for everyone, but I don't want to spoil it. But so in terms of story threads, I have definitely noticed, as others have, that there's been a lot more effort in this latest phase, or last two phases, I think, or maybe this latest phase, to introduce newer characters that we haven't seen in the MCU prior. A lot of them are people of color. And a lot of them do have powers, and this isn't a spoiler, you can see your faces lighting up, do have superpowers that seem, more like powery, like maybe
Mystical. Yeah.
mystical or maybe
Yeah.
cosmic in nature,
Yeah.
in scope.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, like, what are there potential connections there? And just I'm being totally cryptic just for you, because I know you've seen some of the other things, like maybe there's some connections there that we just aren't aware of, like whether it's Ms. Marvel's bangles or Shang-Chi's rings. It just seems like there's some interesting stuff happening.
Yeah.
I like the season too. Like, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but I just feel like people aren't watching because they've heard that it's not good. So I'll just throw out there, like, there are connections. There's some Shang-Chi connections in the season, right? That I was surprised by. There's clearly stuff from what is it, Multiverse of Madness with the Sharon no, not Sharon Carter, Peggy Carter. Sorry, I jumped generations. Anyway, that's all, just that end on the Marvel thing. And then you mentioned Echo, and you haven't seen it, but that's another one that I just quickly want to say, whenever I get the opportunity in chats on people's streams, you're like, I'm gonna skip Echo, I've heard it's bad. Watch it first, and then maybe you'll find out for sure that it's bad. Fair enough. But there's some stuff that happens in the show that is incredibly surprising, that is tonally a little bit different from past MCU stuff, a little more similar to maybe what you saw in the Netflix Marvel stuff. Very similar, I'll say. You've got clearly the Kingpin here. Some real heavy themes too, both in with the cohorty story around like settler colonialism, imperialism, and all of this kind of thing. And then in this one, a little bit about like creepy groomer stuff. And again, I don't know, coincidentally or maybe intentionally, this is now a different Native American character, but she was introduced in the Hawkeye series, Echo. She is Choctaw. So I wanted to share, like, hey, check it out. In addition to saying just check it out, I want to throw out there that there's some really cool like YouTube coverage of this show that, again, comes from a very unique place. So one of my favorite channels on YouTube is one called Native Media Theory. Oh, let's get cut off there. But he did the press junket. He himself is Native. I forget which peoples he's from, but it was amazing to sort of see a Native American, American Indian, sort of talking to the folks behind the show and really highlighting some of those things in a way that's just totally like genuine. Like, you could tell from the other, I'd watch all the other press junket stuff, and the questions and the commentary are very different. And as a result, when you watch these, if you check these out from the links that Thanos is sharing, the interactions are different. And what they end up talking about is just very different because, as you say, there's this question of like, maybe this story isn't for you. And I will say, I think they're all for everyone. They always do a good job of like trying to put in elements that people can access. But then there's a huge chunk of this storytelling that's really for a particular group. So in this case, they were talking about just like how the director, Sidney Freeland, who is also Indigenous, like why they decided to do Choctaw, why they changed that from Echo's origins. And they talk about like the way they depicted some of the pre-colonial stuff on camera, or some of the things that they showed that have never really been seen in a Hollywood anything before. So just highly recommend it. And I love this. And then the other video that I want to highlight was when he interviewed the star of the show, Alakwa Cox. who is also indigenous, and the character Echo is deaf, and she has a prosthetic. The character in the comic did not, but the actor just happened to also have wait, is that right? Sorry, I'm forgetting. But they sort of wrote that into the character, and I forget if Alakwa has a prosthetic or not. But she's deaf, and they talked a lot about that because, again, the interviewer has some experience with folks who are deaf in his family. Again, it's just different, right? So I guess what I want to say is I'm excited that the MCU, with one of the biggest platforms in Hollywood right now, isn't necessarily resting on their laurels and telling us the same superhero story from the same perspective, and is challenging us to look at new stories. But I will throw out there that maybe some people will say, well, that's just part of a woke agenda. I would argue, no, I think there's more going on in terms of the story that they're telling. I'm suspecting, I might be wrong, but I'm suspecting that there's a reason why we're getting these particular types of stories about these particular types of people from the backgrounds that they are. And just to throw out there, they go back generations and sort of show Echoes people well before the modern era. And I'm reminded of seeing a little bit of Shang-Chi and what was happening well before the modern era. I'm reminded of Black Panther, and that whole Black Panther first movie starts from the beginning, right? When almost prehistory, right? When this meteor comes down. And to a certain extent, Ms. Marvel also goes back in time. So I just want to throw out some common things there, and maybe trying to intrigue people to maybe don't give up or write off on the MCU. But anyway, that's all. That's a lot. But yes, that's my TED Talk, as Kayla likes to say. Thank you for listening. And if there's
I look forward to watching it, and it's only 5 episodes, right? So it's not like you're investing that much time.
Yep, I would say, hey, just take one episode, and just I'm curious how people come back after that first episode. Okay, I am curious to see what other folks are saying around this, but I've totally lost sight of the chat, and I'll see if I can circle back. Let's move on. Anything more to say about the MCU in general? Things you're looking forward to, or?
No, I think, we just have to be patient with it, right? So I think it's good. We kind of have a break coming up a little bit. Maybe, we'll see what happens.
Well, here's another one that is a franchise from the 70s that is where some of us are really excited to see what's coming next. Some people get upset about what is the new stuff. You wanted to share this, and thank you. Great visual choice. I love Dave. This is a Dave Filoni sketch. He's famous for sharing his old sketches. So why don't you tell folks what's going on here and what the big news was?
Yeah. Well, so the headline was that, Mando and Grogu are headed to the big screen. And then that first article that came out, the last sentence was like, P.S. Ahsoka season 2 is also in development. That was the part that I was like, all right, we wanted confirmation
by the way,
that, right?
Yeah.
So I think a few days later, then they put out, yes, Ahsoka season 2 confirmed, came out as its own headline a few days later. So I think we all hoped, that would happen. We weren't sure. We weren't sure if the story would continue in the next film or what would happen. But I'm really excited to see where that story obviously left a lot of unanswered questions. So interested to see where it goes. And I don't know if it's going to be before or after the movie. I don't think they really shared anything about anything.
Literally, like you said, it was just by the way, the story continues.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys did such a great job of kind of breaking that down with Boba Squadron. Sans Paul.
That was such a bummer that we couldn't talk with Paul about Ahsoka that he was on, and
Yeah, so Paul Sun-Hyung Lee, if you're not familiar, is an actor who was actually in the show, and this was during the time of the strikes, so he couldn't do any press or anything, right?
Yeah.
So the Boba Squadron continued, and they talked all about Ahsoka. And now we're getting Ahsoka Part 2, which I'm excited about. And you mentioned if this was coming before or after the movie,
Yeah.
and that's in reference to this. The other thing that so why don't you tell the folks about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really like, you know, we kind of knew the Mandoverse would be a movie at some point, and so I think just getting that confirmation is exciting. Another step towards more content. I'm all about it. So you know, fingers crossed we see Carson Teva on the big screen too, you know?
That's right. Yes, that is right. Oh my gosh. I haven't even like really processed about all the possibilities.
Yeah.
But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot like there was some sort of like follow-up stuff that came out saying that this wasn't necessarily part of the plan and there was a little bit of a shift post-strike. So that's just interesting. It's neither here nor there. I'm just kind of like, great, we're gonna get the Mandalorian on the big screen. This whole time they've been saying like we're leading up to some kind of like combining of these shows on the big the big screen, yeah, with Ahsoka being name checked, Mandalorian, and what was the one with Jude Law?
Oh, Skeleton Crew?
Yeah, and Skeleton Crew, I think like the idea is that we're going to tell stories there on Disney Plus that could eventually come together in a again showing the MCU's power in an Avengers like kind of crossover event. So this is exciting. As a Star Wars fan, I'm here for it. So anyway, cool. All right, let's see. What else do we got? Let's shift back to toys for a little bit. Here's a fun, weird one. Normally I'd cover this kind of thing in the customs corner section, but so CB Make, who is a talented customizer, does stuff both old school and new school with printing out material pieces or using old, sculpting and slashing toys and putting them together, shared this just 22 hours ago. It's supposed to be a Dungeons and Dragons Lesser Basilisk monster, but took an existing toy and chopped it and basically repeated it. So, and then added all these cool little elements on top. Right. So I'm reminded, like, the whole crafting thing, like folks like yourself taking existing products and like customizing them, right, and putting your own touch and artistry on it. I love it, and it's so cool, like, to see this thing transform from this presumably a Mattel dinosaur just sort of cut up repeatedly, and now like
I have no idea what that is, but it looks awesome.
like I don't necessarily know either. I was never a big Dungeons and Dragons player, just like but I'm attracted to weird looking funky creatures and aliens, right? But it's so cool to see people just kind of like, they have this thing, they have an idea. Now the technology and all of that has made it possible to make this stuff. And I put it here, not in the customs corner, because he actually sells some of this stuff. If folks are interested, you can follow his Instagram. Here's another one that he's working on out of the 80s, I want to say, or maybe early 90s, was a movie called Tremors. And it featured these big old sandworms called graboids. And so, I don't know, CB Make just got itchy one day and was like, I want to make a giant sandworm. It's so weird and creepy, and the texture's a little bit like, a little bit too real looking. But yeah, like, what is that? But so cool. Like, there's that piece. And then the other thing that caught my attention earlier this week was when he posted this. So he's working on that big version of the graboid. And then worked on a smaller version. Sorry.
I don't like that.
And you can see it's smaller. So this is, and you can see how small it is. And so creating like this is a ball joint head here. But it's kind of cool because, and there's just amazing to see, sorry to go back. Like, this was the thing that came out of the 3D printer and with their paint work, right? Like, this is how it ends up. Just so much talent in the community. And then this is a Mythic Legions head that's no bigger than this He-Man head, like a little 6-inch figure. And this totally reminded my Dune nerdness of like the Dune books, or at least later in the book series. So Sorry. Okay, let's get rid of that one because I think it's creeping out, understandably. Yoko, let's go
I mean,
to...
job well done, right? If it's giving
Yes.
me the heebie-jeebies, so.
Let's go from Yoko to Coco. Sorry, I had to be done. Let's check out what's happening at the Disney parks. The parks, as you say. I love it. The parks. So have you seen this at the parks?
I think I did see him last time I was there. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
jealous. I just saw this video this week, and someone in the family works for the Disney company, and I was like, hey, what's this? Like, is this coming here? Because the first video I saw of it, I think, was coming out of either Shanghai or Japan, Tokyo. And I was like, hey, is this coming to the US parks? And they told me, no, I'm pretty sure they're here. And I kept looking for more. So I haven't seen this. This is at DCA. Yeah, this is that show. Just again, like, I don't know. To me, as a nerd, there's so much more to be excited about than to hate on. And I'm looking, this is like a full-on puppet show. Like, look at that. And totally recreating that that show, that movie. Like, that's so much better than, no offense to the character meet and greets that they have at Disney, but there is a Miguel that walks around in a, the standard big head person in a suit. Just doesn't quite work compared to this. I just love the way it moves, and to see all of his family too.
Yeah.
It's clever. So you have seen
way
this.
to do it. Yeah.
That's cool.
I don't know. Sometimes I forget like what I've seen in real life and what I've seen online now. But yeah.
Well, then apparently there's the meet and greet too. So I know this spot.
I feel like that's what I saw. I feel like I walked by his meet and greet and I saw him there in that little station. Yeah.
It's just so neat to kind of like, I personally can quickly lose sight of the puppeteer and just like fixate on this little character and just his face. And I don't know, man, it's just a trip. Maybe I'm just in my old age.
I wouldn't want to be in a room alone with it though,
Too creepy? What's worse, that or this? That or this?
I don't know. Actually, that might be worse because, like, what if it just starts blinking or moving or singing or something,
Yeah. Well, okay. So I wasn't intentionally trying to freak you out today. So let's go ahead and switch gears a little bit, and let's move on to this section of the show where we look at some photos. There's a lot of like cool stuff happening, whether it's toy photography or otherwise. This first shot is this one by Lord Bobasaurus Eugene out of, I don't know, but they're rocking the US flag, the Filipino flag, and the Mexican flag. So right on. Cool shot of these toys. This is a Mandalorian Bandai figure, and then this is the Maestro Union Blade Master Wang. And I just like a trip like on the sort of like old, samurai film, almost spaghetti western vibe.
Yeah.
In a shot, and these are just toys.
Yeah, that's very cool.
There's some details, and just I love to highlight the just the talent that's out there. What tripped me out was seeing this shot, and I wasn't sure if it's a little bit different. You can see the poses are a little bit different, but I was wondering, it's like, oh, did they just take the shot like this and then composite everything in? Either way, it's amazing. But anyway, I know you hang out with all sorts of toy people that like the toy photography too, and it's, again, people doing their craft, and we have venues to share it, like social media, and yeah, cool stuff. Less scary? Did I do better?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm not, again, wasn't totally intending to. That happened once with somebody else.
To traumatize me. Yeah, no.
That happened recently with somebody else that I showed, and they're like, whoa, what was that? Sorry, my bad. I didn't realize you hated bugs. Okay, let's look at some more photography. What was the other one? Oh, see, this is where the preparation. This is the limits of my preparation. Here is friend of the channel, Joe Gonzalez. Oops. has this shot of a Mythic Legions figure. And again, one of those shots where I'm just like creating all sorts of like mood with our toys.
Mm.
And I think also this kind of legitimizes us buying toys. See, look, they're works of art. There's
art.
a reason I paid so much for it. See?
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. And like, you know, in first couple glance, I don't know, like I almost wouldn't necessarily catch that this is a toy on a horse. At least this section. Love the working into the background. I don't know if this was done all in camera or what, but it's beautiful with that background. Super moody. So shout out to Joe G. Less creepy.
I'm laughing that Fan again said, pointed out that I co-host with Ernie, so I can handle it. I can handle
the weird creepiness. Fair enough. Yeah, I guess that's true. And yes, what's up, Ken? Congratulations on the 5,000, by the way. Yes, this is Dubon from Mythic Legions. Marcus E, which kaiju did you see? Was it the big giant worm thing, or maybe something else? Agreed. This is a great shot. I don't know if Joe's here today, but great stuff. Great stuff. Okay. Genmas. What else? Anapa. Oh, I just lost my page that had all the links. That's awesome. Oops. Let's see. Vamp. Yes, fantastic show. And I thought it was a chunky crocodile or dino. Oh, that must have been the 6-legged weird freakazoid beast that I was showing earlier. By CB Make. Okay, let's see. This is what people in television and radio used to be freaked out about, called dead air.
I'm just, no.
I know you're here. It's cool. You're
let you do your thing. No,
yeah.
You like, look, the shows I'm on. What I'm used to.
I'm not going to respond to that. You're putting me in an awkward position here.
No,
so.
oh my gosh, you're prepared. The first thing I said was when he messaged me with the notes and stuff, and I was like, "Wow, a stream with an agenda! Like that's rare."
And I just responded with, I mean, ...
I was very impressed.
All right.
I
forgot that. I did want to share this, and I should have. This was in the news, but this was a cool like Disney Parks thing too. I don't know if you follow like all the crazy cool Etsy stuff that people just like create to kind of bring the parks experience home. This is cool, like out of Haunted Mansion, where we see the front of the statue and then this cool mirror, like, simple mirror trick, but I love it. You know, I don't know. I'm not a nerd about just toy things. I'm a nerd about all sorts of things. Do you have a lot of like Disney memorabilia park stuff?
I do. And I used to buy a lot more than I have been a little bit better about not just buying everything. But, but yeah, I have a good amount of Disney and park stuff. It's hard to not, like, especially when you're there, like you want to buy something that's like special or that you can only get there. Right. So
Yep. Yeah. Okay, let me share. Maybe let's jump ahead to customs and let's go to again. Woo. See, this is the thing. This is the reality of our new YouTube reality. Like you said, what did you say? This is what you get. What you see is what you get. It's part of the charm. Isn't this charming, folks? Aren't you entertained?
You wouldn't want us to be perfect. That's boring.
Yeah, so boring. You're just waiting for this thing to fall apart. Like, will it fall apart or not? Let's find out. Let's go ahead and check out the customs corner. I'll just show one custom. And this is this is a big deal for me personally. This is a buddy, someone, a nerd that I've known for a long time. He's the same one. If you've been following the stream, I shared a custom figure that I was gifted on my birthday, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, custom painted thing by Imaginary Action, aka Julius Downey. This guy has been working on this VAMP that is scaled with G.I. Joe classified. It is 100% scratch built. Like it's just made from all sorts of stuff. And he's been working on it since 2020 or 2021. And I've been getting pictures on my phone for that long. It's like, hey, check this out. And I've just been like, man, like, when are you going to share this with people? Put it online. It's like, oh, I got to wait till I finish it. And so finally last week he posted it. And so again, here's a sense of like what it's like. It's all polystyrene using like, I think he uses a cry cut for some of this stuff. He hand cuts stuff. These are like wheels from like, I think a Tamiya remote control car. There's some Lego involved for like the headlight lamps, the actual. So like, it's just been kind of cool to see him put this together. You can kind of see the putty work to kind of smooth out pieces, all original concept and design. That just, he's like, yeah, he was a nerd like me when we were kids. He was into G.I. Joe, and one of his favorite vehicles was this thing, and he wanted to do a modern version for his new 6-inch figures that also kind of captured newer kind of like military technology. So he took a lot of inspiration from like the armored cars and vehicles that they're using now. And you can kind of see how big this thing is compared. So these are 6-inch action figures. These are some of his customs too. But I just wanted to give him a little bit of space here because this thing is amazing. You can see it's got the lights, full on lights going on. This winch totally works. And I was like, why the red? And he's like, well, like, you know, realistically, that's what. And I was like, okay. All sorts of little details like that, even on the inside, which he hasn't shown, but there's all sorts of funky little ideas going on inside in terms of this is like fully developed inside as well. And here you can see the base, just like, sheets of plastic. He actually originally prototyped the thing in here in like mat board or
cardboard or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
just
cool.
trying to figure out the concept of like, and again, it was years of work. So Julius Downey's doing some great stuff.
That's awesome. I love that you can see the steps too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important for people to see because I think a lot of people get frustrated with like they have an idea and they want to do something and they don't get it on their first try or their second try or their third try. You know, it's like these things, like you gotta be dedicated to it.
Absolutely.
And learn along the way. It doesn't happen overnight. That's awesome.
Process is everything. Yeah. Ray's saying he should give it a code name since the VAMP is on the way. Yeah. You know, again, this was started a couple years ago before we knew Hasbro was going to do it. But yeah, I don't know what he's thinking with it. But he's just like, man, I want this. It's a one-off. It's like, this is for me and my shelf, and he enjoys the process. Yeah, agreed. There's some great work going on in here, and so yeah, it's going to be a one-off. He's not going to do others. So yeah. Oh, we're reclaiming it, Ken. Don't worry about it. We're reclaiming it. It's all good. Nerds. Okay. On that note, you do a bunch of stuff. And so to the end that I usually do is kind of the That's What's Up section where we focus a little bit more on one thing. Sometimes it's like a customizer or whatever. And then often it is my co-host. So I know that you have shared that a bunch of the things. Let's kind of run down the list again. So on Instagram, you are Livin, La Vida Yoka.
Yoko McCann.
Yoko. Oh, no, sorry. On YouTube, right?
That was I'm also Yoko McCann. No.
Was that?
On YouTube, I'm also Yoko McCann. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, then never mind.
So I use the Livin La Vida Yoko name, but my accounts are usually at Yoko McCann, except for I think Twitch is the only one where I'm Livin La Vida Yoko.
So real quick, you posted something today that I didn't want to forget. Let's see if I can find it. That bag is epic. If you know what I'm talking about. Okay. How do I find that? Shorts?
I made a short. Yeah, I did a still photo on Instagram, and then I made this little short for
all right.
YouTube and TikTok. Yeah.
What is going on here? Where can I find this?
This cup noodle bag. My mom brought it back from Japan for me. Ooh, it was a Christmas present. But yeah, so it's like an officially licensed cup noodle bag. It's technically they call it a laundry bag.
Sure.
I can show the real bag.
Yeah, I guess this is a perfect laundry bag, right? You're like gonna bring this to the laundromat and walk down the street with your.
They so large I have to scoot back. Yeah, so it.
Oh my God! Look how huge that thing is.
Like so, it has like this liner on it, you know.
Sure.
So you can really fill it up.
Yep.
And it holds a lot. I have to scoot back even more. Yeah.
The only thing I would say, do they give you any way to wear it like a backpack?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But so
That's awesome.
great. It's nice and big. You can always use it for like, I don't know, like it'd be great for like storing like stuffies or something too. I don't plan to use it for that, but I think you could. Or laundry or a con. Maybe I'll take it to a con.
Yeah. Anyway, I just saw that, and that's the kind of cool stuff that you can see, because you're documenting all sorts of the different things that you collect on here on the channel, and doing some unboxings. Yeah.
Trying to come up with some different types, because I don't buy enough stuff to do cool stuff. I got this, my cool stuff I got this week isn't really a weekly thing. That's my big secret, because like I just made my first toy purchase of the year, actually. Yeah.
Are you trying to slow down in 2024 like a lot of us
I'm
are?
going quality over quantity. That's my
smart.
That's my new toy philosophy. I've been saying that for a while, but but
you're enacting it.
Yes. Yeah. As I switch over to like Hot Toys, 1/6 scale. So
the cool stuff I got this week, in quotes, is happening. What days of the week is that?
It just depends. I don't have I don't have a formula. A lot of my face on the screen right now.
This thing is this thing is awesome. It comes with the Funko people should have trained you by now. You're gonna see your face. This thing is super cool, and so like there's just what I appreciate about what you do is just like you're just kind of looking at it all, right, and open to kind of finding some cool things, and so you kind of are like curating some really neat things that I think a lot of us would just not know about. Like I didn't know that this was a thing. Which is kind of like what I try to do here too with this show. It's just like, hey, check this stuff out.
There's a lot of independent creative people that you can find on Etsy or Instagram and other places, that are doing their own thing, making some treasures that you might not be able to find, officially licensed versions of. Also, I want more spider cat things. I wish people would make more spider cats.
Oh, spider! This is really cute. That seems like such a no-brainer with the love for cat. Whoa! And you've got a deadly weapon.
My knife, my trademark knife.
Thing.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And then Lorcana. That's a thing that I've been seeing you do recently. I think you restarted doing the streams with a Lorcana.
My last couple of live streams have been card pack cracking. So that's been a lot of fun. I have not learned how to play the game yet. That is my resolution for 2024 is to learn how to play. And
I told you because Yoko hooked my kids up with her extras and was like, maybe they want to play. So we tried during the holiday break and we're like, but there's a lot of good helpful videos, but I don't think my youngest is yet ready for the attention and focus that this might take, but we're trying. But I told you, like, I would love for them to play this kind of thing because this is a card-based game based on Disney characters, and we're all about it here. For some reason, just like I was never like I'm all about Disney, but in the last, even before the kids were born, for some reason, been following it. And I think it's probably because they own everything that I like now. But it's cool because it's using all their specifically Disney characters. Like you won't see Star Wars and stuff in there, will you? Have they said that? Okay.
No.
Stuff from the animated world, I guess. So it's kind of just cool on that.
So it's like straight Disney right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you said no Pixar? Is that what you said?
No Pixar yet.
So straight Disney. Working this in, and apparently it's like super hot and super collectible, and like people are doing that end of things with it. But I don't know. I don't know if I just don't have the head for it. I've played Magic the Gathering before, but what I was confused by was like, okay, there's a card thing, and then all of a sudden there's like game pieces and like the little tokens.
See, I've never been like a TCG player, so this is my I've totally went into it with the collecting mindset, you know, where
Mhm.
I want the full sets,
Yep.
like other trading cards, you know. But that's why I thought it'd be fun to actually learn how to play, you know, like I was never really into Pokemon cards as a kid. I think I was a little bit older, you know, when those came out.
Mhm.
But I collected Pogs, you know. I knew how
Sure.
to play Pogs. But you know, so that's why I was like, you know, this time I want to collect them, but I want to actually learn how to play this time too. So I have friends who have offered, you know, so it's just making the time to do it. But I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna learn. And then the third set drops the first week of March, I think March 8th. So
Yeah, and that's the thing
maybe
when I was
that should be my
watching
real
it
goal. I got to learn how to play before chapter 3 drops.
when I was watching you, sort of unbox them, and that's actually when I first started learning a little bit more about the cards and seeing you open them. I'd heard that it was coming,
Yeah.
um, but then just kinda getting intimidated by the potential cost
Yeah.
of, like,
Yeah.
getting into it with the kids. So, one, thank you for the
Yeah,
extras.
yeah, yeah. The starter packs, yeah. Um,
Let's
yeah.
talk about the enablers. So you do the enablers and you're part of Boba Squadron over on the Toying Around channel.
Yeah.
How did that start? And the enablers is kind of like a cool group of people because there's a lot of folks. I don't know how that all works, but
Yeah. It's grown. You know, the first couple years was I'm considered season 2 enabler, you know. So
oh,
it started, yeah, so
is
it
there
was
like a
Kev,
crew you didn't get jumped in till season 2?
well, yeah, basically. So it was Kev, Mario, High School Creations, Mike, and Prime. You know, it was the 4 of them originally, and I think they had been doing it at least a year when it was Decon 2021
Okay.
was when they all met up for the first time, and I was going to that show too with Super 7. And so we all met in real life for the first time at that show. And
Ah,
then
cool.
and Kyle and Fred were around for that too, Pen Fernudo and Kyle Wadiga. And uh they fell in love with Fred, right? When you watch Fred's Twitch streams, I don't know, is your audience familiar with Fred? I imagine they might be.
I don't
Some of
know,
them
but
are.
they should
Yeah.
be, and I love
Um
Fred, and Fred reminds me of Fred's
yeah,
like my cousins, you know, like
yeah.
anyway, yeah, it's,
But
I love it.
they fell in love with Fred first, and they were like, "Oh, he's the next enabler." And then Kyle was upset about that, and then I was like, I didn't, you know, that at the time I just kept being like, I don't even know why I'm here with you guys. Like, you know, what am I doing here? Which is also often how I feel on enabler streams. But then I was like, you can't have them join and not invite me, you know?
Yeah, I often heard you use the phrase, herding cats,
Yeah,
in that setting.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but so
So
that's cool,
yeah.
and so were you and Kyle, I guess, coworkers
Kyle,
at
Fred,
that
and I
point?
became the season 2 expansion. Yeah. Yes. Kyle and I were
Gotcha.
coworkers at the time. Yeah.
The expansion team.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it, and
Yeah.
then, on the same channel, you're doing Boba
Yeah.
Squadron. How did
Yes.
that start
Yeah.
up?
Boba Squadron started. I was really grateful to Kev actually because I don't think I hadn't. I think I joined Boba Squadron before Enablers. Again, timeline's confusing.
I know.
And Kev and I didn't know Kev that well yet, and Kev had reached out to me saying, "Hey, I want to start the Star Wars, you know, podcast essentially," and I, you know, and he wanted me to be part of it with him, and like that really touched me, you know, where I was like, oh,
Mm.
you know, we're not even that close. We're not really don't really know each other that well yet, and but he, you know, wanted me to do this with him, and like I thought that was really cool for him to reach out to me. That was before I moved. My space like stresses me out now when I look at that, how much stuff I had behind me.
Yeah, I remember there was a lot more before, and then
Yeah, and it was like so close, you know, it was so close behind me where I have more space now. It's nice. But yeah, so it was just it was Kevin and I at the start, and then one day he messages me and he goes, "I think I found a really cool third co-host." And I was like, "All right, whatever." And that was Paul. And I was like, "Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
no, I
cool."
agree. Yeah, no, I
That,
agree. That could work.
I could see him working out.
So I'm assuming you were familiar
Kind of. I had not
with this.
watched Kim's Convenience at the
Okay.
time. So I
God, I
only knew him from I think
love
from
that show.
the Mandalorian season 1, I think.
Okay, okay.
That had already happened because I think the first
Mhm,
show we did was Bad Batch,
mhm.
I think.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
this family is a Kim's Convenience, family. It's to the point
Yeah.
where my 12-year-old, that's kind of his thing with mom is to go back and just watch random
Yeah.
episodes.
Mhm.
They love Appa, they love the whole family, and,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, so as soon as we started doing this, I was like, I better watch Kim's Convenience. And so like, and that was when I binged it and I loved it,
Yeah.
It really is one of those shows, I think, that you could turn on and watch any episode and enjoy it, right?
mhm. And then Ernie, is that where you got?
And then I don't know, Ernie I don't know where he came from. He just showed up at some point. I think he offered to
I
order
remember he was
coffee
auditioning for a while, kind of on like
yeah, yeah.
probationary status for a while.
And yeah, Ernie too, I didn't know him that well at the time,
Uh-huh.
when he first started, but I think was that one that might have been that must have been that's right. I think the first show we did was Bad Batch, and then it was Book of Boba Fett, and that's when Kev reached out to Ernie, being a Boba Fett fan, because the three of us are Boba Fett haters. And so he was like, "Well, we should balance it out a little bit." So he brought in Ernie to be pro Boba Fett and
Yeah.
become a new punching bag, essentially. Yeah.
Got it. So we needed to balance it out
Yeah.
that's cool. That's hilarious. No, Ernie's in there because Ernie is amazing and entertaining and definitely a hardcore Boba Fett fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least I'll say that, and then you can just.
I mean, it is what it is. Ernie and Paul both, like they've been fans since the first movie, right? And like the amount of knowledge both of them have is amazing, in terms of decades of Star Wars information that they have collected in their brains. So it's really fun to have them. And then, I'm a newer Star Wars fan actually, so and then Kev's kind of in the middle there. So it's fun. I think we have
I love that dynamic.
different perspectives. Yeah.
Yeah. And so real quick, so like James just caught maybe didn't even realize there was Lorcana. By the way, he mentioned that you just give you some ideas you could
yeah
in there. I was saying, I had the thought but didn't vocalize it, that if they made it out of maybe like plastic or metal or something, you could actually cook in it.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Chingones is asking, are you into sports cars?
Oh, this is interesting question that could have a longer story. So I actually, in a previous lifetime, I did work in sports. Like coming out of college, I actually wanted to I was wanting to work in sports marketing, and I worked for the Mariners actually coming out of college. I interned while I was in college and then started working full time for them. And I was a huge Mariners and Sonics fan, especially in the 90s, so I did. The answer is yes. I have a ton of old baseball and basketball cards, but from a very specific time, from like mid 90s to mid 2000s, or even maybe 2010-ish, because I was with the Mariners until 2011, and that's when I left. And I got really burned out on sports, and that's a long story that we do not have time for. But after leaving the sports world, I have just kind of completely lost interest. And I'm not really a fan anymore. So I still have all
sports in general.
Yeah, kind of in general. I think, I don't want to ruin anything for anyone, but sometimes you're better off being a fan. I've actually learned that lesson the hard way a couple times, but sometimes you're better off being a fan.
Okay.
But yeah, I have a ton of really cool Seattle sports memorabilia, though. It's all in storage. I have tubs of cards too that, maybe I should do something with at some point, but I think that kind of is where it was. But I think I always had that collector mentality though, like I said, with pogs and stickers and like erasers. Did anybody collect erasers, like the cute Japanese erasers?
We have a collection here, like ones that look like what I don't know actually if they're are they meant to be erasers? I've wondered that. I don't use them as erasers. They're just cool looking.
I still have a box of those too. Pristine erasers.
All sorts of animals. Cute little animals, food items. We got all of those. And then of course, we mentioned it earlier, you're over on the Fallen Fett Chronicles, and I'll throw that in the link. Thanos, thank you for working on that. The Fallen Fett Chronicles, and you started a bit ago. I remember when that started happening. And then,
I don't know how that happened either. He was trying to do his own show, and then at some point he asked me to jump on with him, and then he kind of was just like, why don't you come back every week, and be my weather girl or traffic girl or something, is what he originally said. But yeah, so I kind of hopped on there with him at some point last year. I really don't know when.
Sorry, I'm digging. Sorry, not to if this is freaking people out, but I'm trying to see how far back that was because
it was probably
I want to
maybe
say if
April
ever
or so, March or
I don't
April,
know how that
maybe.
goes. 112 to 4/8, so about 9 months
8 or
ago.
9 months ago, yeah.
But see, these are like 6 months ago, and
He
you're
had
not
guests,
here.
yeah. So when he had guests and stuff, it wasn't me. Yeah.
No,
Then he started.
I just remember you came on, and one of the first ones I was working actually outside on a dio, and it was I think one of the first times he started talking about the Mandela effect, or maybe it was
Yeah.
earlier than that, and I was just like, oh, okay. That's why that stuck out to me. But
Yeah, or
but
maybe it
since
wasn't
then,
until this summer. Maybe it wasn't until this summer that I started with him every week. I
you
can't
and
remember.
you're
I
definitely there for
remember.
Ming.
Time makes no sense.
Yeah, you were definitely there for Ming. Anyway, or maybe you were, but the Mandela effect happened.
It's changed it. Yeah, I don't know
And
my
it's
origin story
changed when
anymore.
it started. Huh.
Amazing.
So at what point did he so you are officially now the co-host, and then there's 3 of you now, right?
Yeah,
Maybe-
Dario helps him a lot behind the scenes with his like thumbnails and graphics and stuff for social. And then he hops in when he can. He's not really a regular co-host, but Ernie likes to give him credit since he does help him out a lot, with stuff.
Man on the street.
So, which is awesome. Yeah, the man on the street. Chamba did the artwork.
Freaking
Drew us as these characters.
Yeah, I love it. I love the Star Wars Chronicle, and then yeah, that's fantastic. And then again, we said that you all just hit the 500. Folks, if you're not there, go over there, subscribe. They're at 509 right now.
And actually, that last episode, you got to watch it to find out. There's a giveaway going on. You could win one of those Jada Toys Chun-Li figures. Right. So yeah, watch that. Replay that last episode to find out how to enter to win.
Yeah, so here was the party for Ernie's channel.
Yeah, so he was, so the 500 subs was the goal, right? So he could get monetized. Because he had the watch hours, he didn't have the subs, so he finally got there, and then he had to. Yeah,
there's no Ernie here.
Going on, and he couldn't make it. He ended
there's
up
no
not
Ernie
being able
here.
to make it.
There's this guy making a weird stank face. And no Ernie. And as I said towards the end,
we had a full house. We were.
I was like, part of me, I kept saying like, wait, no, this is a gag. Like at some point he's going to show up, right? Like I honestly thought that you all were like, this was a thing, but nope, it wasn't. And then they finally had the celebration.
He really was stuck at work, so he was like, all right, now we can have our party. And I was like, keep trying to tell you, Ernie, we partied without you, but yeah.
But you guys do some cool stuff there. It was super fun. I don't know if he's planning, like at least this was last week's. And unfortunately I couldn't jump on, but I said my piece. I guess the week before, congratulations. Mom-in-law was here, so I just, but the whole like trivia thing y'all were doing is one of my favorite things, as I've said before, for Boba Squadron. So I don't know if you're planning on, it sounded like you're doing more of those kind of game things.
That's totally up to Tommy, like Tommy's the one that puts the time and effort into creating these for us for our various streams, which is awesome. And so I'm always down. I'm always down to beat Ernie and the others.
And it's like Ernie's into toys, but the channel decidedly like there's stuff there, but
we're
it's
not a toy stream.
Everything.
Yeah. We don't consider ourselves a toy stream. We are toy fans and toy collectors, obviously, but like, yeah, some of the topics we've talked about dreams and Mandela effect is one of Ernie's favorite subject. Ghost stories. There was one episode where we dissected a Ring video for 2 hours. Did you see that one?
No.
No, yeah.
You mean The Ring, like the horror?
No, like camera footage, Ring camera footage.
Oh.
It was a friend of the channel's in-laws, I think, sent over this video and wanted us, gave it to us to talk about, because like there's something kind of weird happening, and people could be like, "Oh, it's just dust or a bug or something," but
it's a ghost.
It looks like I don't know. Like, and sometimes I like to play along with it, just to add to it. And sometimes I prefer to shut Ernie down. Actually, usually I like to shut Ernie down, but this time it was kind of fun to play along.
Well, I would love to join someday and talk ghosts, because I definitely have those experiences. But I'm seemingly similar from what I've seen you on there. Like I don't automatically assume, oh, it's the soul of a dead person who is here, or like I'm always just kind of wondering. So having been more on the I don't know, the what's the word? What was Scully? She's a person who doesn't believe. There's a the skeptic. Thank you.
Oh, the skeptic.
Yeah, more on the skeptical side of
Yeah.
things, but also like, there may be some things we don't fully understand yet.
Yeah.
So I'm fascinated by it because there have been
Yeah.
some things that I've experienced that are like, whoa,
Yeah.
what's going on? So I'm not quite as eager to believe as Ernie is. But clearly that's because
Yeah.
he's traveled dimensions and all sorts of things, and he's fully aware.
Yeah, like
More
last
so.
week he was like, "Oh, I had a reset," and I was like, "What?" He was like, "No, I had a reset. I came out. They almost put me back in the wrong timeline, so they had to reboot me and bring me back here."
And I will say, so at some point you all were talking about the shower thing. I will
Oh
say
my
here that I've done it as well. I listen to streams. I don't know that I chat as much as Ernie makes it
Yeah.
sound like he's in the shower and like, oh,
And like watching
yeah.
intently.
But that has become a habit. And part of me contemplated jumping in that night, but Hankin got it covered. I wasn't going to fully be in the shower like Hankin was.
No, that was so
I
funny.
was just
Yeah.
going to show you
We
pop
have
in, like,
super talented artist Chamba and, Star Wars actor Paul Sun-Hyung Lee. And what do we
Yes.
talk about for 70 minutes?
Yep.
Shower habits.
Yes. And we didn't even get to that tonight, but I don't know if you noticed, but in the chat, I was a strong advocate of good moisturizing habits and staying away from the Irish Spring, Ernie, please.
Yeah, I was
But that's a
really
whole other
really
stream.
fascinated about him shampooing his bald head. Yeah.
Yeah, but like not even a little. Like, and what's
Right, lathering
hilarious
for 20 minutes. Yeah.
is that he didn't realize it. It seemed like
Yeah.
he had never thought about it until you all brought it up, and he's like, yeah. No. And then he noted, it was like there's a moment where he realized, oh wait, that is kind of weird.
Yeah, should I not be doing that? Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, for sure, go check out the Fallen Fett. And then just before we break, I did want to share that, like professionally, you're working with RockLove right now.
I have. Yeah. At some point last year, April, I decided I wanted a change of pace from toys and collectibles, and move on to shiny, pretty things, basically. So RockLove jewelry was a brand that I was a fan of, and I had been buying from for a few years. I had met the team. Allison is the owner and designer, and I had met her at cons and everything, and became pretty friendly with them. And she had told me a few years ago, she was like, because there's it was just her for a long time doing everything, right? And she was like, one day I'm going to hire you. She told me that like 3 or 4 years ago. One day I'm going to hire you. And then last year,
specifically to do marketing type
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. She's like, I'm not ready yet, but one day I'm going to hire you. And I think just about a year ago, she reached out to me and she was like, it's time.
Nice.
It's time. And so we started talking about, we possibly moving over there. And
you were at Super 7 at the time.
I was at Super 7, yeah. Which, gotcha. I learned a lot again. I said earlier that I owe Super 7 a lot for bringing me on during a tough time. And all the people I know, like I wouldn't be sitting in this chair talking to you, if I hadn't gone to work for Super 7. So it's always funny how things work out. But yeah, I moved on to RockLove jewelry. I'm wearing that ring right now. Not that one, the one next to it. But yeah, it's been fun. It's really, it's a women-owned and operated team. There's 7 of us. We're all remote. And so yeah, it's like truly a small business still, and it's a very.
If you didn't catch this, if you didn't catch this, I just kind of showed the first part. Like, sorry, I'm trying to say like all the logos and stuff. So, but just to help people like wrap their heads around what RockLove does, because all these different properties, like what's the pitch, I guess, of what you all offer?
So it's high quality, most sterling silver.
I didn't mean to make you work. I just realized.
No.
Work.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk about it.
Sunday evening.
No, it's totally fine. Licensed, all officially licensed. Star Wars, Disney are the biggest things. Pokemon, that's about to go away. Those all the Pokemon stuff. So last chance. So if you're a Pokemon fan, last chance to get those pieces.
The license is just going away, you're saying?
Yeah. Studio Ghibli is another big one. Like we had this Howl's Moving Castle collection launch, I think in August, and we have not been able to keep it in stock. Like it keeps selling out. So it's been on back order since 30 minutes, and like 30 minutes it sold out, and it's been on back order ever since for months now, which is pretty crazy.
That's amazing.
And Allison's big thing is using high quality metals that people won't have allergic reactions to, for people with sensitive skin and everything. So that's kind of her what's the word I'm looking for? Like that's the key point of difference for RockLove, is like using the high quality metals to make sure that people with skin sensitivities can still wear it. It's not going to turn your fingers green. It's not going to, get damaged.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Like, again, a lot of these things are newer properties or whatever, but this is just like the fandoms, right? And to think that like a lot of us, we have different interests and tastes beyond just, the toys, for example, or the t-shirts. And like, it's kind of cool that you have now like, in this day and age.
Yeah. And some of the pieces too, I'm like, I don't play Diablo. I don't know much about it. But actually click on one of those.
On one of these?
One of the Lilith pieces.
Oh, the Lilith piece. This one?
Sure. And then if you scroll over on pictures.
Oh, that head. That's amazing. So did she start off as like
there you go.
Oh, hey.
You can even find parts of me on the website.
I was going to say sometimes model.
Yeah, occasional model. Which is the wildest part, like me doing videos for Funko was something I never expected to do, but then me modeling jewelry was something I would have never expected to do.
Does she sculpt too, or?
So she designs it all, and then she works with an all-woman factory in Thailand to actually create the pieces.
Oh, wow,
yeah, when she first started, she was making every single piece by hand when she first started.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long has she been doing this?
15 years. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It hasn't been licensed jewelry the whole time. And like her story is really cool too, where her first licensed piece was Star Trek, where they saw pieces that she did and they reached out to her, and she was a lifelong Star Trek fan, and like,
so she wasn't doing any, when you say, oh, sorry, you said it wasn't licensed, but she was doing nerdy things. She was
making jewelry. Her background was more like, when she first started, she was doing more like kind of like goth rock and roll. What is she called it? Like rock and roll meets goth, kind of design. Mm-hmm. And if you click on that RockLove 15th anniversary at the top there, that was a collection we dropped last year. That those 4 jewelry pieces were updated versions of some of the first pieces she made 15 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So she was making pieces more like that.
And so when I'm just curious, when Star Trek approaches her, is that because like they saw something that connected to the brand?
I can't remember all the details, but they saw a piece that she made, and they were a fan, and saw her skill in design and everything, and reached out to her to make a piece for them.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the relationship grew from there, where she's making licensed, officially licensed jewelry for them now.
Yeah, this
so like some of the ththings, like the Bajoran cuff, I believe they made it for the show. Actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was gonna say, I was sort of, that's why I was asking. I didn't know if they asked her to maybe do some stuff for the show as prop.
Yep. Or... Yeah, she's worked with Marvel on a couple things like that too. They're like actual reproduction.
Oh, that's oh my gosh, what is her name? She does Star Wars the High Republic show. The model. Anyway, I forget her name. Yeah, she's the sort of like personality that hosts all the YouTube stuff on the High Republic. But she's wearing Star Trek stuff. No. And then this one, and then we can close up. But this stuff is amazing. The idea of like a lightsaber going around your finger, and So, folks, if you've got someone in your life who might appreciate some nerdy jewelry, check this out. Look at those. That is cool.
No, I wish you can't see the sparkles, you can't see how shiny and pretty it is on these pictures, but they're shiny and pretty.
That's fascinating. Right on. Yoko McCann, multi-talented, doing a ton of stuff. And yes, Prince. Ernie has claimed to have yanked his cousin out of a dream like Nancy pulling Freddy Krueger's hat. If you want to find out how, you'll have to watch. Absolutely go check out Fallen Fett Chronicles. We go from paranormal to shower habits to moisturizing over they do. Yeah. So it's a great show every Wednesday at what time?
6 o'clock Pacific time.
6 o'clock. Yeah. It's a busy Wednesday.
Yeah.
They'll claim, Ernie will claim that it's the only show going on Wednesdays.
First original show.
Yes, and now that they're monetized, bring lots of bills or link a credit card, because you will be pushed to make all sorts of super chats. Which, man, I gotta get on. I have been monetized and haven't done anything with memberships. Anyway,
you haven't set it. You can set it up and you have it. Wow.
I have set it up.
Yeah.
I was surprised. You like one. I'll tell you. In my head, I was like, I don't think Ernie did that. And yeah, so you set it up.
I did it for him.
And you did it fast. And I actually have mine, and it's totally set up. I paused because. For the folks don't know, YouTube takes basically 30% of everything. So I was fine with it until other folks were telling me, hey, you should maybe check out Patreon and Coffee or whatever. I don't know if you're familiar with Coffee. So I don't know. And then on that point, I just sort of paused and was like, why would people give me money? And I'm just in that weird space.
Kind of depends on what your goals are, right? Like, are you trying to make a living off of it, or is it all a bonus, you know? So anyway, I got to figure that out. I've got spreadsheets to do. We didn't even get to talk spreadsheets, but I would love to have you another time for us to talk a little bit more about spreadsheets and logistics and agendas and all that other nerdy stuff. The other kind of nerd.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. I had a lot of fun. So folks know where to find Yoko after this. Over here, I am doing this weekly. Next week, oh, this is embarrassing. I'm going to have, Black Angus, KJ, is going to be on next Sunday. And then I'll have Renders Effects and, I'm totally blanking, but they're all amazing people, and I'm sorry, no offense. But I'm always looking for great people to come hang out and talk about nerdy stuff and kind of painless, right? Can you attest that it was kind of easy and like?
Oh, this is great.
Yeah,
so
cool.
Organized. Yeah, I love
organized-ish. Well, thank you. So and then check out the shorts that are going on. I'm still kind of in this process of trying to document my nerdy toy collection, because the truth is they're all probably going to have to be sold at some point. And I won't have them anymore, but I will always have my YouTube shorts. So check that out. I have some unboxings that I've been working on. I have like a backlog of like over the last year or so that I've just never edited. So I'll get to those too. Tomorrow. I mentioned it earlier. Please hang out with us on the Geek the F Out channel with Kayla, Lucha Johnny, and Allison Troy. And we're going to talk the second half of the first season of Mo2 Revelation. And then later this week, we'll talk Revolution. So anything else that you wanted to plug on, maybe on your channel? Anything coming up?
I don't know. Just keeping an eye on my Instagram. It's the best way to keep on top of what I'm doing, since I don't really have a set schedule. But other than Fallen Fett Chronicles on Wednesdays, the next Enablers episode is actually February 1st, so look out for that too.
All right. Yeah, it's been a while I'm still waiting out for the Boba Squadron. But I understand why. Yeah. But hopefully, maybe you're just talking Star Wars, or maybe doing some catch up.
Yeah, I think you'll see this sooner rather than later, because we're dying to talk to Paul about Ahsoka and
great. Great.
Maybe actually, I'm going to tell Kev that we should have a stream after this live stream. So
there you go. Make it happen.
Fan thing, Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yep. So make it happen. Look out for Yoko McCann over there. Thank you for hanging out on the Brick Something channel, everyone. I appreciate you all, and I hope everybody has a great week. Here, let's. Which one should we do? We do this one. No. Sure. Yay! I discovered yesterday you could do air quotes, and I did air quotes, and it just seemed as well. Anyways, we'll keep talking about this nerdy stuff. Bye, everybody. Love you. Have a great week.